On this episode of the Layover Live, Katie Cook stops by to talk marketing in times of uncertainty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 111 of the Layover Live, where we bring you the top article from the layover each week. I'm Jason Swick, VP of Digital Marketing, joined remotely for our first Layover Remote with Katie Cook, who is our digital strategist. So, Katie, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, super happy to have you here. And again, I know we're changing things up a little bit. This is kind of work from home time for everybody. So we want to make sure we continue with the layover and provided information for DMOs out there that was relevant and of value. And I think our topic this week is of great value because we're talking about marketing in times of uncertainty, and an article that Katie, you and I both really liked that came out not too long ago, but I think it's still pretty relevant from PhocusWire, which talks about um, you know, coronavirus and travel digital marketing and different strategies that we should be thinking about. And this brings up really good topics because this is something that's very, very important to DMOs. We get lots of questions about these. We're in a time of uncertainty. So I think really, looking at this article, it really gives advice that during a crisis, it's important to really provide clear and up-to-date information on how, your DMO is dealing with, impacts as it relates to the virus. So, what are some ways that DMOs can share, partner and community information? Because I think a lot of DMOs will really benefit from that.
It's really important for DMOs to be an important, a very clear message to the community. And so really a lot of DMOs have done a great job of creating some pages on their website for just kind of basic health and safety information that people are looking for. Visit Charlottesville and Greater Fort Lauderdale are just two examples of DMOs that have done these kind of pages. And it's really simple view CMS clients should consider using the alert widget, which allows you to add something to your site that doesn't necessarily take over the rest of the content. Because, we do know that, people are still looking for future trips. They're still wanting inspiration. So that alert module doesn't necessarily cover that content up and kind of lives up at the top of the page or in a pop-up that then directs people to that type of information. And I think DMOs are really focusing right now their messaging and their general focus to actually more of a community relations and community information instead of necessarily marketing and using that kind of softer language and being informational. Some examples that we're seeing out there that are really great we wanted to share. One of them was Experience Columbus. Experience Columbus has done a really great job of creating a kind of a hub on their site that really is showcasing both that kind of general, health information, but really some other great resources like restaurants that are offering to-go and delivery options. They have a really great article of how you can help in a crisis in terms of those partner resources. So I think they're doing a really good job. Other DMOs that are focusing on helping their restaurant partners are Experience Grand Rapids, Visit Denver, Visit Richmond, Virginia. They've done a really good job of focusing on those restaurants and getting the word out for people to still go and give them business. In fact, Visit Denver created a togodenver.com URL that then redirects to their page so they can get the word out and people can remember that URL. Some other really good examples are DMOs that are showcasing, virtual tours of their attractions, live feeds, kind of things that can be online that are then still marketing their partners or getting the word out on their partners. I really love Visit Alexandria. They have a page called ALX at Home. It even has its own hashtag. And it's a really good hub of both restaurants that are open, like I said, more like the virtual tours of their attractions. They even have a lamb cam, which is a live feed of the lambs out at Mount Vernon, which I really love. I think the live feeds are really fun. And kind of speaking of live feeds, I have to call out Visit Austin,
Of course.
my former home. Visit Austin has a really great blog post of really supporting the musicians and the DJs in the city, and showcasing all the ways that you can listen to those DJs and musicians through live feeds and live concerts
Yeah.
that are streaming online. So I just think those are all really great examples, and we'll make sure and include all of those links in the episode notes.
Yeah, really good stuff. And Kate, it's tons of really, really good examples, right? You talked about Experience Columbus, again, looking at their content even just yesterday, like they're crushing it for really
Yeah.
for a DMO that's really pivoted their strategy and really become a very valuable resource for their destination. So, shout out to those guys there. They're doing a really good job. And then some of the other examples you mentioned too, like even like with Visit Austin, thinking outside the box and finding some ways to provide some relief in times like this with some of the DJs and setting some of those things up is a good way of again reframing your strategy and reframing your approach to provide some value and some relief in your destination. So now that DMOs like that have gathered all of their resources that you've mentioned, what are some ways that can help spread the word, right? So do you have
Yeah.
any advice on maybe like the best channels to use or tips to share, things of that nature?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think this is the time to be even more communicative than you
Yeah.
were before, being, transparent and informational, both, all through PR channels, social
Hmm.
media, email. I mean, this is the time to do that. And I would say that, being, even if you're maybe not posting to social media with the same frequency that you were before, just being there to answer questions in those channels where people are asking them, I think is
Yeah.
still really critical.
Yeah. Good point.
So I think being present and listening and engaging there is really important. I would say don't forget about email. I think email is
Mm.
sometimes forgotten about, but it's still really important to keep those email communications going, especially on the local industry partner side of things. Just kind of getting the word out of what's happening, maybe what's closed. Asking your partners for how you can help them through this time. I think that emails is still really critical.
Yeah, you know what? I would wholeheartedly agree with you there, Katie, and that's a good point to make. Email is a great way to directly communicate with your audience, and so using that to deliver that message and get some of that content out in front of your audience, I think is a good play. Now, it's also good at the same time because many people are being bombarded with messages from every brand that's out there, it seems like it's also important to make sure you're getting it out to people who want that, right? So if somebody has been on your list for 4 or 5 years, please don't send them an email. It's especially now, it's really inappropriate to be honest with you. If a brand is out there trying to send something to somebody who hasn't shown an interest in the last 4 or 5 years, send it to the people who are really engaging with you because again, everyone's inbox is very full with these things. So be that valuable resource to your destination. And that means being thoughtful and considerate and compassionate with your tone and the information that you're providing. So good stuff there. Um, you know, one other question I want to ask you, Katie, too, and this is kind of like a big question, the $1 million question. Seems like we're getting asked a lot lately, right? Is does it make sense right now to pay for traffic if consumers aren't buying travel, right? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, what are you seeing out there when it comes to paid media? Because clients are asking us, do I keep it going? Do I pause? Do I wait?
Hmm.
What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, really, all DMOs are approaching paid
Hmm.
advertising differently. I mean,
Yeah,
they all have different reasons and different markets, et cetera. So we're seeing kind of everything. I
yeah,
would say probably the majority has paused all paid or most paid media at this point, just because it's not the time maybe that people are looking. They want to be relevant and that just thinking they could that keep that money back for later. But there are some that have shifted or are just running more of a drive market, more of a regional ad campaign versus international or fly markets. Also, they've just changed their messaging. We've also just recently started seeing some DMOs use paid search to drive traffic to these resources that we're talking about. So the
yeah.
restaurant pages they're building for for this time period, they're actually using paid search to drive traffic and awareness of that. So I think that's another really smart thing that we're seeing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and thanks for that insight. It's really something to think about because you could probably make an argument on both sides of the fence. DMOs are definitely going to have different takes, and there's again many factors that play into a decision to keep going with some things. or to continue down the path, right? And certainly an argument can be made for pausing things like brand awareness campaigns right now, fly market, international, and in most cases, it's honestly very prudent to do so. And if anything, you already mentioned banking those dollars for now to be used at a later date is a great strategy, and one that actually our team recommends doing for those wanting to put things on hold. It's a good idea to bank that because this space is going to get super competitive and it's going to get competitive very quickly. And so earmarking those dollars for later is really, really wise. So I think it's something to really think about. And because, even talking to some friends of mine already, because they have this extra time now working at home, oftentimes working at home provides a little bit more flexibility. And in that flexibility, oftentimes people sometimes aren't doing all business stuff. They may be doing some personal things and they're thinking about those trips, right? I mean, even us just being in the situation that the world is in right now, people are already feeling kind of constrained and kind of locked up, so to speak, just for lack of better words. And so I think they're going to be eager to get out and travel sooner rather than later when things turn around. I think you'll see a big push in drive markets when this thing first changes, and then slowly or very quickly rather after that moving into fly markets. So, even today though, again, you can make a case for things continuing to go. In fact, our rep at Microsoft has actually told us that they're even seeing an uptick in search queries as it relates to staycations and road trips. So it's still happening, right? Any other tips for anybody out there?
No, I would say the last thing is just to be thinking already about your recovery plan. When things are better and we're going to turn things back on and kind of get more aggressive in marketing. I mean, what are you going to do? What markets are you going to be advertising to? Are you going to start staycation, go to regional? Like, just start thinking about that and have that in place for when the time is right.
Yeah, Katie, honestly, super great advice, right? So thinking of it like this two-phased approach. First and foremost were the things you mentioned earlier about, hey, right now should be a time of being of value to your destination, right? Being of value to your partners, and you've expressed some good examples there. We should also at the very same time be thinking about that recovery plan. What things can we do today to prepare for tomorrow? I think that's smart advice. So thank you very much. Again, wanted to get your perspective on this, the fact that not that long ago, you were on the other side of the fence, living in DMO world. So getting your perspective and insights and some of the examples you shared is of great value. So thanks for sharing that with us today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. So again, thanks for tuning in for this remote edition of the Layover Live. If you're not subscribed, please do so now. We're also available through podcast, through Spotify and iTunes. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time and have a good day.